The sleeping giant awakes. The Zarkai patrol ship, Vigilant Whisper, glided silently through the void, its sensor arrays sweeping methodically across the unremarkable yellow dwarf star system. Lieutenant Ixora, a seasoned veteran of the Galactic Patrol, stifled a yawn as she watched the familiar planet scroll by on her holographic display. This system, designated Sol in the ancient star charts, had been a routine stop on the patrol route for millennia. Another pass, another silent backwater. Ixora muttered to herself, her four eyes blinking in sequence. She was about to input the commands for the jump to the next system when a shrill alarm pierced the quiet of the bridge. Anomaly detected. The ship's AI announced, its normally placid voice tinged with urgency. Unknown energy signature emanating from third planet. Ixora's tentacles tensed as she leaned forward, all four eyes widening in disbelief. The holographic display zoomed in on the blue-green world, a planet long thought to harbor only primitive life forms. But now, a shimmering field of energy was rapidly enveloping its entire surface. "By the cosmic egg," Ixora whispered, her voice barely audible. "It's some kind of planetary shield." As the crew of the Vigilant Whisper watched in stunned silence, the energy field stabilized, encasing the entire planet in a gossamer-thin bubble that pulsed with an otherworldly light. But that was only the beginning. The ship's sensors suddenly went haywire, detecting massive energy spikes throughout the system. Ixora's expert fingers danced across the control panel, bringing up visual feeds from every direction. What she saw defied belief. Around the system's star, a vast network of structures was materializing, as if fading in from another dimension. Millions of satellites, each the size of a small moon, arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the sun. The Dyson Swarm, a theoretical megastructure that Ixora had only read about in speculative engineering journals, was now a reality before her eyes. "Cosmic egg preserve us," muttered Call, the ship's engineer, his spiral horns quivering with a mixture of fear and awe. They've harnessed the entire energy output of their star. But the revelations weren't over. On the fourth planet, a rusty red world that had always appeared barren, massive hangar doors were opening on the surface. From these gaping maws emerged ships of sleek, predatory design, their hulls gleaming with an alloy unknown to galactic science. Similar scenes played out on the icy moons of the gas giants. Europa and Titan, long thought to be nothing more than frozen wastes, were transforming before their eyes. Vast cities rose from beneath the ice, and more ships poured forth from hidden ports. The comm officer, a bioluminescent Quarian named Lumi, suddenly let out a startled squeak. "We're receiving a transmission," she announced, her skin flashing in patterns of excitement and trepidation. It's coming from the third planet." Ixora swallowed hard, forcing her tentacles to remain still despite her racing pulse. "Put it through," she ordered, her voice steady despite the turmoil in her mind. A holographic figure materialized on the bridge, bipedal, with two arms and a single head. Its form was familiar from the ancient records, yet somehow more refined. When it spoke, its voice resonated with a depth and power that sent shivers down Ixora's spine. "Greetings, travelers," the figure said, its lips curving in what Ixora recognized as a smile, though it held no warmth. "We are the children of Sol, and we have returned." The bridge crew exchanged glances of disbelief. This planet, this unassuming world that had been dismissed as an evolutionary backwater for millions of years, was speaking to them with technology that surpassed anything in the known galaxy. I am Lieutenant Ixora of the Galactic Patrol vessel Vigilant Whisper," Ixora managed to respond, her training kicking in despite her shock. "We were unaware that your world harbored a spacefaring civilization. Our deepest apologies for any intrusion." The holographic figure's smile widened, revealing teeth that seemed just a bit too sharp. "No apologies necessary, Lieutenant. We've been expecting you." A chill ran down Ixora's spine at those words. How could they have been expecting a routine patrol? Unless... Her thoughts were interrupted as the human figure continued. "We understand you have questions. Rest assured, they will be answered in due time. For now, know this. Earth is no longer the sleeping backwater you once knew. We are awake, we are united, and we are ready to take our place among the stars." As if to emphasize this point, a massive ship emerged from behind Earth's moon. It dwarfed anything Ixora had ever seen, its hull adorned with glowing lines of energy that pulsed like the heartbeat of some cosmic leviathan. "Our ambassador will be arriving at the Galactic Council shortly," the human said, its tone casual, as if discussing the weather rather than a pending millennia of galactic politics. "We look forward to reintroducing ourselves to the galaxy." With that, the transmission cut off, leaving the bridge of the Vigilant Whisper in stunned silence. Ixora's mind raced. The implications of what they'd just witnessed were staggering. A civilization that had hidden itself for unknown eons, advancing in secret to a level that might surpass the oldest races in the galaxy. And now, they were ready to reveal themselves. "Orders, Lieutenant," Call asked, breaking the silence. His voice quavered slightly, betraying the fear they all felt. Ixora took a deep breath, forcing her professional mask back into place. "Send a Priority 1 message to Galactic Command," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Inform them of everything we've seen, and set a course for the nearest subspace relay station. The Council needs to know about this immediately." As the Vigilant Whisper turned and accelerated away from the Sol system, Ixora couldn't shake the feeling that she had just witnessed the beginning of a new era. The galaxy had slumbered, comfortable in its perceived dominance. But now, a sleeping giant had awoken, and Ixora feared that nothing would ever be the same again. Echoes of the past. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council hummed with nervous energy. Representatives from 1,000 worlds murmured amongst themselves, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic diversity. Tension hung in the air like a static charge, punctuated by bursts of alarmed chatter as the latest reports from the Sol system made their rounds. High Counselor Genva, her crystalline form glittering under the hall's soft lights, called for order. The cacophony gradually subsided, replaced by an expectant hush. "Esteemed colleagues," Genva's harmonious voice resonated through the chamber. "We stand at a moment unprecedented in our history. A world long thought primitive has revealed itself to be." She paused, searching for the right word. Something else entirely. As if on cue, the grand doors at the far end of the hall swung open. A lone figure strode in, bipedal and clothed in a sleek suit that seemed to absorb and reflect light in impossible ways. The Earth's ambassador had arrived. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembly. Many had expected a team of diplomats, or at least a security detail. Instead, this solitary figure exuded a confidence that bordered on nonchalance. As the ambassador approached the central podium, details became clearer. Her skin had a subtle metallic sheen, and her eyes glowed with an inner light that was decidedly non-biological. "Greetings, representatives of the galaxy," the ambassador's voice carried effortlessly, a perfect blend of warmth and authority. "I am Aria, emissary of Earth and its colonies. We thank you for this audience." Genva inclined her crystalline head in acknowledgement. "Welcome, Ambassador Aria. The Council has many questions." Aria smiled, an expression both charming and somewhat unsettling. "I imagine you do. But before we address the present, we must first speak of the past. Your past and ours." With a gesture, Aria activated a holographic display that filled the center of the hall. The image of a verdant Earth appeared, teeming with primitive life. "500,000 of your galactic standard years ago," Aria began, her voice taking on a storyteller's cadence, "Earth was a world of promise. Our ancestors had just begun to grasp the fundamentals of agriculture, of building, of society." The hologram shifted, showing early human settlements. Many council members leaned forward, intrigued by this glimpse into ancient history. "But we were not alone," Arya continued, her tone darkening. The hologram suddenly filled with ominous shapes descending from the sky. They came without warning, without mercy. Scenes of devastation played out before the stunned council. Strange, amorphous creatures laid waste to human settlements, their very touch seeming to corrupt the land. The Void-Bearers, whispered an ancient Kulathian counselor, his tendrils quivering in fear. But they are merely a legend, a Bujiman story told to scare younglings. Arya's gaze locked onto the Kulathian, her glowing eyes intense. I assure you, counselor, they were very real. And they nearly ended humanity before we had truly begun. The hologram showed scattered groups of humans fleeing underground, into caves and hidden valleys. Those who survived did so by hiding, by burrowing deep into the earth's embrace, Arya explained. There, in the darkness, we made a vow. We would emerge again, only when we could be certain of our safety, when we could stand against any threat the cosmos might send our way. Images flickered rapidly now, showing generations of humans living and working underground. Flashes of technological advancement appeared, rudimentary computers giving way to quantum systems, crude life support evolving into terraforming technology. We expanded throughout our solar system in secret, Arya continued, as the hologram displayed human outposts on Mars, Europa, and beyond. We built and planned and prepared. All the while, we listened to the galaxy above, learning your languages, your cultures, your strengths, and your weaknesses. A ripple of unease passed through the council at these words. Genva stepped forward, her crystalline form pulsing with concerned light. Ambassador, are we to understand that Earth has been spying on the galactic community for eons? Arya's smile returned, razor-sharp. Spying is such a loaded term, High Counselor. We preferred to think of it as due diligence. After all, our first contact with alien life nearly resulted in our extinction. Can you blame us for being cautious? Before Genva could respond, a Volcran representative burst out. But why reveal yourselves now? Why after all this time? Arya's expression grew solemn. Because the threat that once nearly destroyed us is returning. The Void-Bearers are awakening, and this time they will not stop with Earth. The hall erupted in pandemonium. Counselors shouted questions and denials, some calling for immediate military mobilization, others dismissing the claim as fear-mongering. Arya stood silent, waiting for the chaos to subside. When it finally did, she spoke again, her voice cutting through the lingering tension. We understand your doubts. The Void-Bearers have passed into legend for you, a faint echo of a threat long past. But for us, they have been an ever-present shadow, the driving force behind every advancement we've made. The hologram changed again, displaying a map of the galaxy. Sinister tendrils of darkness crept in from the edges, slowly encroaching on populated worlds. Our long-range sensors have detected their approach, Arya explained. They move slowly by your standards, consuming and corrupting everything in their path. But they are coming. We estimate no more than 50 of your galactic standard years before they reach the outer colonies. A Melosian counselor, his feathers ruffled in agitation, spoke up. If what you say is true, why come to us? Why not simply defend your own world, as you've prepared to do for so long? Arya's glow dimmed slightly, a sign of sadness. Because, despite our isolation, despite our caution, we have not forgotten our humanity. We could shore up our defenses, seal off our system, and watch as the rest of the galaxy falls. But that is not who we are, not who we want to be. She straightened, her glow intensifying. We reveal ourselves now, at this crucial juncture, to offer our knowledge, our technology, our strength, not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as equals, as fellow sentients who understand that the fate of one is the fate of all. The hall fell silent, the weight of Arya's words settling over the assembly. Genva stepped forward once more, her crystalline form resonating with a deep hum of contemplation. You have given us much to consider, Ambassador Arya, the High Counselor said. The Council will need time to verify your claims and discuss the implications. Arya nodded, her smile returning, softer this time. Of course, we anticipated as much. But know this, whether you choose to stand with us or not, Earth and humanity stand ready to face the coming storm. We extend our hand in fellowship, but we do not require your acceptance to act. As Arya turned to leave, the Grand Hall once again filled with the buzz of urgent conversation. The galactic community, long set in its ways, found itself faced with a choice: embrace this unexpected ally and the changes they would bring, or cling to the familiar and face the encroaching darkness alone. The sleeping giant had not only awoken, but was now striding onto the galactic stage, carrying with it echoes of a past long forgotten, and the promise, or threat, of a future yet unimagined. The technological singularity. The Galactic Science Academy on Centralis Prime had always prided itself on being at the forefront of cosmic knowledge. Its vast halls had witnessed countless breakthroughs, its quantum computers had unraveled the mysteries of dark matter, and its scientists had mapped the intricate dance of galaxies. But today, the Academy stood humbled. Dr. Zixleathar, the Academy's venerated director, found himself struggling to maintain his professional composure as he led a delegation of Earth scientists through the facility. The visitors moved with an air of polite interest, but their eyes held a glimmer of something that unsettled the octopoid academic. Was it amusement? "And here we have our pride and joy," Zixleathar announced, his tentacles gesturing towards a massive spherical structure dominating the center of the main atrium. The cosmic simulator, capable of modeling stellar evolution across an entire galaxy, interrupted one of the human scientists, a young woman with circuits visibly etched into her skin. Impressive, though a bit limited, isn't it? Zixleathar blinked his compound eyes in confusion. Limited? My dear, this is the most powerful computational engine in the known universe. The human smiled, not unkindly. Perhaps we can show you something a little more expansive. With a gesture, the human activated a device on her wrist. The air shimmered, and suddenly the atrium was filled with swirling lights and complex, multidimensional structures that hurt Zixleathar's eyes to look at directly. "This is a real-time simulation," the human explained, her voice tinged with excitement, "of not just a galaxy, but an entire universe. Multiple universes, actually, running in parallel." Zixleathar's tentacles went limp with shock. But that's impossible. The computational power required. The energy consumption alone would be negligible. Another human chimed in, this one an older man with eyes that glowed with an inner light, at least when you have a quantum computer that operates on the Planck scale. The Academy scientists crowded around, their earlier skepticism replaced by unabashed awe. Questions flew rapid fire. How do you account for quantum uncertainty at universal scales? Can you manipulate variables within the simulation? Is this how you model your military strategies? The last question, asked in a whisper by a junior researcher, caused a momentary silence. The lead human scientist, Dr. Elena Shirova, addressed it directly. "While this technology has obvious strategic applications," she said carefully, "its primary purpose is understanding. We use it to model ecological systems, predict cosmic events, and yes, to strategize against the void bearers." As if on cue, the simulation zoomed in on a section of space where inky blackness seemed to devour light itself. The assembled scientists shuddered collectively. "But today," Elena continued, her tone lightening, "we're here to share, not to intimidate. This simulation technology is just the beginning." Over the next few hours, the Earth delegation unveiled marvel after marvel. They demonstrated matter-energy conversion technology that could create any element or compound from pure energy, effectively ending resource scarcity. They showcased AI systems that could solve complex societal and philosophical problems, yet possessed fail-safes to prevent them from ever turning against their creators. But it was the final demonstration that truly shook the galactic scientific community to its core. The human delegation led the Academy's top scientists to a small, unassuming craft docked at the station. "If you would join us for a short trip," Elena invited with a smile. Once everyone was aboard and settled, Elena nodded to the pilot. "Take us to the Andromeda Galaxy, please. Observation Point Alpha 3. Before anyone could question the absurdity of the request, the universe outside the viewports shifted. Stars blurred into lines, then into a kaleidoscope of color. There was a moment of disorientation, and then Andromeda filled the view, its spiral arms glowing majestically against the cosmic backdrop. Dr. Zixleathar's tentacles twisted into knots. That's impossible," he stammered. "The journey should have taken millions of years." 2,537,000 and change, the human pilot confirmed cheerfully. "But only if you're constrained by traditional spacetime," Elena explained as the galactic scientists tried to process what they'd just experienced. "We call it space-time manipulation drive. Essentially, we're not moving through space. We're moving space around us, creating a bubble of localized spacetime that can traverse vast cosmic distances almost instantaneously." The implications were staggering. With this technology, the entire galaxy, no, the entire universe, was now accessible. The tyranny of distance, long thought to be an immutable law of nature, had been overcome. As the Earth ship made its way back to Centralis Prime, in the blink of an eye, the mood among the galactic scientists had shifted dramatically. The initial skepticism and mild condescension towards Earth's upstart civilization had been replaced by a mix of awe, excitement, and fear. Back at the Academy, an emergency session of the Science Council was hastily convened. Dr. Zixleathar found himself facing his peers, many of whom were still reeling from the day's revelations. "Colleagues," he began, his voice uncharacteristically subdued, "we stand at a crossroads. The humans have achieved what can only be described as a technological singularity. Their advancements are beyond our current ability to fully comprehend, let alone replicate." Murmurs of agreement and concern rippled through the assembly. "But," Zixleathar continued, straightening his tentacles with resolve, "they are here not to conquer or to gloat, but to share, to prepare us all for a threat that, quite frankly, we were ill-equipped to face on our own." He turned to Elena and her team, who stood quietly at the side of the chamber. "Dr. Sharova, on behalf of the Galactic Science Academy, I extend our deepest gratitude and our wholehearted commitment to collaboration. Whatever you need, resources, personnel, facilities, consider them at your disposal." Elena nodded graciously, but her expression remained serious. "Thank you, Dr. Zixleathar. Your support will be crucial in the days ahead. But I must stress, time is not on our side. The Void-Bearers approach, and even with our advancements, the coming conflict will test us all." As the council session adjourned and plans for intensive knowledge-sharing and joint research initiatives were hurriedly drawn up, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the Academy. Millennia of established scientific principles were being rewritten in real time. The universe suddenly seemed bigger, full of both promise and peril. Yet beneath the excitement, a current of unease ran through many of the galactic scientists. Humanity had hidden for eons, advancing in secret to unimaginable levels. What other surprises might they be keeping? And could the galaxy truly trust a species that had managed to deceive them for so long? As the Earth delegation prepared to depart, promising to return soon with more scientists and technologies to share, Dr. Zixleathar found himself of two minds. Part of him thrilled at the new frontiers of knowledge opening up before them, but another part, a deeper, more primal part, whispered a warning. The sleeping giant had not just awoken. It had evolved into something beyond their comprehension, and whether that would prove to be the galaxy's salvation or its undoing remained to be seen. The Omega threat. The Galactic Defense Council chamber was eerily silent. The holographic displays that usually flickered with routine patrol reports and trade route updates now showed only static. It was as if the galaxy itself was holding its breath. Fleet Admiral Jorak, a veteran of a dozen interstellar conflicts, felt a chill run down his spines as he absorbed the latest intelligence. His exoskeleton, usually a lustrous blue, had faded to a pale, sickly hue. "It's confirmed, then?" he asked, his mandibles clicking nervously. "They'd broken through." High Counselor Genva nodded gravely, her crystalline form pulsing with a dim, foreboding light. "The Void-Bearers have emerged from the dimensional rift in the outer rim. The Exilanthe sector has gone dark. Trillions of lives, just gone." The chamber erupted into a cacophony of shouts and wails. Representatives from 100 worlds voiced their fear, their anger, their desperation. Silence. Jorek's voice boomed, bringing a temporary halt to the chaos. "This is no time for panic. We've prepared for this. The combined fleets of the Galactic Alliance stand ready to." His words trailed off as a new hologram flickered to life in the center of the chamber. It showed the Exilanthe sector, once a vibrant hub of 1,000 inhabited worlds. Now it was a swirling mass of darkness, punctuated by flashes of sickly green energy. "By the cosmic egg," someone whispered. "It's spreading faster than we anticipated." As if in response to the words, tendrils of darkness began to stretch out from the corrupted sector, reaching towards neighboring star systems. Worlds in their path winked out one by one, their light extinguished as if they had never existed. "Our simulation showed total galactic infection within 3 standard months," a voice announced. Ambassador Area of Earth strode into the chamber, her hybrid form drawing all eyes. "Unless we act now." Jorak turned to face her, a mix of hope and desperation in his compound eyes. "The weapons your people promised us, the Void Disruptors, are they ready?" Area's expression was grim. "Yes and no. We've successfully created devices capable of repelling the Void-Bearer's corruption field, but the power requirements, they're astronomical. Using them on a galactic scale would tear apart the very fabric of space-time." A heavy silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. High Counselor Genva stepped forward, her crystalline form resonating with determination. "What are our options, Ambassador?" Area gestured, and a new hologram appeared. It showed a complex network of energy conduits spanning the galaxy, centered on a series of massive structures. "This is Project Omega," Area explained, "a network of space-time stabilizers that would allow us to deploy the Void Disruptor safely. But constructing it would require resources from every inhabited world. And even then, we estimate a 40% chance of catastrophic universal collapse." The chamber erupted once more, voices raised in disbelief and outrage. "You're asking us to risk the entire universe on a coin flip," a Volcran representative screeched. "What choice do we have?" countered a Melosian counselor. "It's that or certain annihilation." As the debate raged, Jorak noticed Area step aside, engaging in an intense, whispered conversation with her human colleagues. When she turned back to address the council, her expression was even graver than before. "There is another option," she said, her voice cutting through the din. "One that my people have been reluctant to consider." All eyes turned to her, the chamber falling silent once more. "We possess the technology to create a pocket universe," Area continued, "a self-contained reality, separate from our own. We could lure the Void-Bearers into this construct, and then seal it off, permanently." For a moment, hope flickered in the eyes of the assembled representatives. But Jorak, veteran of too many wars, saw the weight in Area's stance. "What's the catch?" he asked quietly. Area met his gaze steadily. The pocket universe would need to be convincing, vast, populated, and someone would need to be inside it when it's sealed to ensure the Void-Bearers don't find a way to escape. The implications hit like a physical blow. Sacrifice on an unimaginable scale. How many? Geneva asked, her voice barely a whisper. 1 billion souls, at minimum, Aria replied. Volunteers who would live out their lives in the pocket universe, knowing they can never return. And an entire fleet to act as bait and seal the rift behind them. The chamber exploded into chaos once more. Accusations of madness, of genocide, flew freely. But beneath the outrage, Jorak sensed a current of grim consideration. The calculus was brutal but clear: 1 billion lives to save trillions. As the arguments raged, a quiet voice cut through the tumult. Dr. Zix Leothar, the octopoid head of the Galactic Science Academy, raised a tentacle. "A question, if I may," he said, his tone deceptively mild. "This pocket universe, would those inside know that it wasn't real?" Aria hesitated for a fraction of a second. "No," she finally said. "For the deception to be convincing, they would have to believe it was their true reality. We would give them a full, rich universe to live in, indistinguishable from our own. But they would be cut off from us forever." A heavy silence fell as the ethical implications stank in. It was Jorak who finally broke it. "I'll lead the fleet," he said, his exoskeleton regaining some of its luster as resolve filled him. "If we're asking billions to sacrifice themselves, the least I can do is ensure the trap is sprung properly." One by one, other military leaders stepped forward, volunteering their forces. Plans were hastily drawn up for a massive evacuation and resettlement program, moving billions from threatened worlds to the relative safety of the galactic core. As the council chamber buzzed with frantic activity, Aria stepped aside once more, activating a private communication channel. "Is it done?" she asked, her voice low. The reply came in text only, scrolling across her visual field. "Pocket, human IVRZ stable. Population transfer 83% complete. Estimated time to fuel integration 6 hours." Aria closed her eyes briefly, the weight of secrets and hard decisions evident in the slump of her shoulders. When she opened them again, her expression was one of grim determination. The next few days were a blur of activity. Fleets were marshaled, populations shifted, and final preparations made. The Void-Bearers continued their inexorable advance, swallowing star systems whole. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. Jorak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the combined might of 1,000 worlds arrayed behind him. Before them swirled the nightmarish mass of the Void-Bearers, a cancer eating away at the galaxy. "All ships, prepare for dimensional shift," Jorak commanded, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. As the fleet engaged their drives, tearing a hole in the fabric of reality to enter the pocket universe, Jorak allowed himself one last look at the galaxy he had sworn to protect. A galaxy that, if all went according to plan, would never know the true scale of the sacrifice made this day. "For the future," he whispered, as the familiar stars faded away, replaced by the pristine void of a newborn universe. The trap was set. The bait was in place. Now, all that remained was to spring it, and hope that the cost in lives and ethical compromise would be enough to save existence itself. As the Void-Bearers took the bait, following the fleet into the pocket universe, Aria watched from a hidden observation post. Her hand hovered over the control that would seal the rift forever, trapping both the threat and its would-be vanquishers in a prison of false reality. In that moment, weighing the lives of billions against the survival of all, Aria felt the full weight of humanity's long isolation, their desperate preparations, and the terrible choices that came with unparalleled power. The fate of the universe hung in the balance, poised between extinction and survival, with only the push of a button separating the two. Humanity's finest hour. The observation deck of Earth's flagship, the ESS Prometheus, was eerily quiet. Ambassador Aria stood motionless, her hybrid form silhouetted against the backdrop of swirling cosmic energies. Before her, the viewport showed a sight few had ever witnessed: the boundary between universes, a shimmering membrane of reality itself. On one side, their home universe, with galaxies spinning in their eternal dance. On the other, the newly created pocket universe, a perfect replica designed to trap the Void Bearers. And between them, the combined fleets of the Galactic Alliance, led by the indomitable Admiral Jorak, playing their part in this cosmic deception. Aria's hand still hovered over the control that would seal the rift, trapping both the threat and its pursuers forever. A single tear traced down her cheek, the weight of billions of lives heavy on her conscience. "Ambassador," a gentle voice broke the silence. Dr. Elena Shirova, the brilliant physicist behind the Pocket Universe technology, stepped forward. "It's time. The Void Bearers have fully committed to the pursuit. Any longer, and we risk them realizing the deception." Aria nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "Have we done the right thing, Elena? Tricking billions into sacrificing themselves, trapping them in a false reality." Elena's expression was solemn. "We've given them a universe, Aria, a full, rich existence. And in doing so, we've saved countless more. It's not a perfect solution, but it's the best we could do with an impossible choice," Aria finished. She took a deep breath, her finger moving towards the control. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. The viewport crackled with energy as a massive tear appeared in the fabric of space-time. "Impossible," Elena gasped. "They've detected the anomaly. They're trying to break back through." The ship rocked as tendrils of void energy lashed out, probing the boundaries of reality. On the main view screen, they watched in horror as ships from the Allied fleet were torn apart, their crews exposed to the raw chaos of inter-universal space. Aria's mind raced. All their planning, all their sacrifices, and still it might not be enough. In that moment of crisis, she made a decision that would reshape the course of history. "Elena," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them, "initiate Protocol Omega." Elena's eyes widened. "But that's untested. The power requirements alone could tear apart both universes." "We have no choice," Aria replied. "Humanity has hidden in the shadows for too long. It's time we stepped into the light, whatever the cost." As Elena rushed to input the commands, Aria opened a channel to the Allied fleet. "This is Ambassador Aria to all ships. Fall back to the designated coordinates immediately. Repeat, fall back now." She watched as the surviving ships disengage, retreating from the encroaching void. All except one. Admiral Jorak's flagship held its position, continuing to fire its weapons into the dimensional rift. "Admiral," Aria called out, "you need to retreat. What we're about to do, I can't guarantee your survival if you stay." Jorak's image appeared on the screen, his exoskeleton scared and cracked, but his eyes burning with determination. "With respect, Ambassador, my place is here. Whatever you're planning, you'll need someone to keep them occupied." Aria felt a surge of admiration for the alien admiral. "It's been an honor, Jorak. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." As the last Allied ships cleared the area, the ESS Prometheus began to glow with an otherworldly light. Conduits of pure energy crisscrossed its hull, feeding into a massive array at its bow. "Protocol Omega initiated," Elena reported, her voice tense. "Dimensional stabilizers online. Quantum field generators at maximum capacity." The ship shuddered as reality itself seemed to bend around it. The rift between universes, torn open by the Void Bearers' assault, began to warp and twist. "What we're attempting," Elena explained, her eyes fixed on the readings flooding her screens, "is to create a quantum entanglement between our universe and the Pocket Universe. Instead of sealing them off, we're going to merge them." Aria watched in awe as space itself began to ripple and fold. The Pocket Universe, once a separate entity, began to bleed into their own reality. Stars from both realms overlapped, galaxies merged, and for a moment, it seemed as if all of creation hung in the balance. The Void Bearers, sensing the change, redoubled their efforts to break through. Their corrupting influence spread, threatening to unravel the delicate quantum web being woven around them. "We need more power," Elena shouted over the groaning of the ship's superstructure. "The entanglement isn't stable enough to contain them." In that moment, Aria made the hardest decision of her long life. "Divert power from the ship's life support," she commanded. "Use my biomechanical systems as an additional power source." Elena looked at her in shock. "Aria, that could kill you." "A small price to pay," Aria replied with a sad smile. "Humanity has lived in fear for too long. It's time we faced our demons." As Elena reluctantly complied, Aria felt a surge of energy course through her hybrid form. Her consciousness expanded, touching the very fabric of the two merging universes. In that transcendent moment, she understood the true nature of the Void Bearers, of reality itself, and of humanity's place in the cosmic order. With a thought, she reached out, her expanded consciousness touching every ship in the Allied fleet, every world in both universes. Her voice, tinged with the power of creation itself, echoed across space and time. "People of the galaxy, stand firm. Today we face our greatest fear, not with weapons, but with unity. The Void Bearers are not our enemies, but a part of us we've long denied. In merging our realities, we accept the darkness within and the light without. Together, we create a new future, unbounded by the limitations of a single universe." As her words resonated across the cosmos, something remarkable happened. The Void Bearers, once a seething mass of destruction, began to change. Their corrupting influence transformed into a force of renewal, breaking down the barriers between matter and energy, life and death, creation and destruction. The ESS Prometheus, at the heart of this cosmic transformation, began to break apart. But instead of destruction, each fragment became a seed, spreading the new, unified reality across the expanding cosmos. In the final moments before her consciousness fully merged with the new universe, Aria saw flashes of the future, worlds reborn, civilizations flourishing in ways never before imagined, and at the heart of it all, humanity stepping forward as guardians and nurturers of a more vibrant, interconnected cosmos. Admiral Jorak, his ship long since transformed into pure energy, found his consciousness expanded beyond his wildest dreams. He marveled at the beauty of the new reality, understanding now the true magnitude of the change they had undergone. As the last vestiges of the old universes faded away, a new epoch dawned. The age of separation was over. In its place arose a reality where the boundaries between species, between matter and energy, between thought and action, blurred into insignificance. Humanity, long hidden, had not only revealed itself, but had transcended its original form. In facing its greatest fear, it had unlocked the potential not just of itself, but of all sentient life. The sleeping giant had not simply awoken. It had evolved, taking all of creation with it into a new stage of cosmic existence. And somewhere, in the vast expanse of this new reality, the essence of Aria smiled. For in humanity's finest hour, they had not conquered their enemy, but embraced it, transforming fear into the ultimate act of creation. The universe, reborn, pulsed with new life, new possibilities. And at its heart, the spirit of humanity's courage and sacrifice lived on, a testament to the power of facing one's fears and emerging stronger on the other side.